That's exactly what we want. We want the truth and nothing but the truth.
And George Green is one of these people who used to run around with those short-haired, narrow-minded hypocrites. And it's very interesting to hear him talking about those times. That must be like a long time ago. George, are you on air now? Can we hear you?
I'm on. Can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. George, this is Bill Ryan here in Europe. It's a great pleasure to hear from you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Bill. I don't know how you can afford Europe right now. I just came back from Switzerland myself. My God, the expenses.
It's everything's about twice as much, isn't it?
Conservatively, yes, that's right. Twice as much. We got a real deal here for at least a couple of months or so, and then the dollar's going to collapse, and then what are we going to be playing with? I don't know.
Well, George, that's exactly what we want to know from you. So how you doing, George?
I'm doing fine. I came back from an attorney meeting with a couple of attorneys that formerly were with the Internal Revenue Service, and they were discussing the new plans for, basically taking more connections and more things and looking at the corporations and the, for instance, which was one of the places people could kind of hide out. It's going to be interesting in the next year because they're going to go out after everybody. Meanwhile, as you know, the dollar is kind of out of focus with everybody, and also, China and Russia and India are meeting on Monday and Tuesday, and they're going to be determining currency they're going to be using because they don't want to use the dollar anymore.
Well,
we had heard, George, that there was.
Go ahead.
Carry after you. Okay, right. My question. We'd heard, George, that in that meeting, the U.S. had asked to be represented, but they were not allowed to be part of that meeting. Is this correct, or is that just an internet rumor?
No, that's true. Why would you have somebody that they're not allowed anymore? I mean, everybody is ganging up on the other side now because they know what's happening with our economy. With you've seen the video, the Obama Nation, which kind of tells you all of the inside players right now. They're all banked to the bankers and trying to support themselves. The problems involved is the Federal Reserve, which has gotten permission for the Bank of International Settlements has permission to audit it, which is not going to do any good anyway because it's all fiat and blue sky right now. And the rest of the world's waking up to it, as you well know.
At what stage, George, do you think the inflation is going to kick in? Because that's got to be waiting in the wings big time.
Well, it's happening right now. People can go down remember the old $4 gasoline? Well, it's over $3 right now in the United States. I mean, they're talking about $2.75, but in California it's over $3 in places. And according to the information I'm getting right now, it'll be moving back over to $100 a barrel. Saudi Arabia says they can live with 70. Well, of course, it's around 75 right now. It'll be over 80 before long because that's the point that we're looking at. Remember, the United States is in a real because we import over about 75% of our oil. And we're stuck with that, so it's going to come up at the pump, hoping that the people, meanwhile, they're being laid off. The crazy thing today, they announced that they're opening up 6 Chrysler plants, as you probably know. But what are the Chrysler plants going to be making? They're big engine cars. Does this make any sense to you?
No, absolutely not. And besides, most people don't need new cars right now. That's actually kind of absurd. What is going to happen when the dollar is no longer the fiat currency?
Well, you're going to have the dollar used here in the United States. Now, what you're going to be able to buy with it, I'm not really sure, Kerry, because the people I'm talking to right now, and the goods, the ships that are coming in with cargo right now are only like 25% full. The inventory that we've had, all of the companies bought last year, is all coming up within the next 60 days, which I think is going to coincide with, just as a coincidence, the end of the summer rush. You know what you're talking about, or vacation and all that. Then all of a sudden we're going to have a 3-day holiday. Now, whether we make it that long, and I've been saying we're getting ready, they're also putting all rumors, as you know, about getting, we got to take care of the enemy in the Middle East again. Now, I'm a little bit behind schedule because I thought they'd be in a war right now, but any second right now I can see that getting started.
Right, so things are really building up.
Well, it's building up. So you're looking at inflation it's probably going to go up 30 to 40% starting in big time in September. But right now, it's already going up. The cereal companies, the cereals that you buy, they're cutting down the size of the cartons. They're giving the same price, but you're down 2 ounces.
Okay, but we're going to be having what is called as an inflationary cycle instead of a deflationary cycle?
We're going to have both things happen. Some things are going to deflate because there won't be any lenders out there. As the government's trying to borrow money, it's driving the interest rates up. So therefore, when it's doing that, people won't buy houses, which we're already doing. And you're probably aware that most of the houses that have been going through refinancing, over half of them are already going back into foreclosure. And that's really causing the push on the banks, and that we are, back up over almost 6%. The bigger loans are 6.5% or 7%. I had a friend of mine who's in the real estate business in New Mexico. They just sold a house for $600,000 with $200,000 down, and it was appraised for $1 million last year. Now, let's give you an idea. Meanwhile, the bank has come back, and they want a current appraisal because they don't even loan the $400,000.
Well, what about China? Because they're a big player in this whole scenario, wouldn't you say? And they're trying to get out of the dollar pretty frantically, I understand.
Well, yeah, exactly right. So they're acquiring all the natural resources in China. Well, it's kind of like when they put down at China, well, probably China and India are going to be the largest consumers of that. Anybody right now, if you want an engineer, most of them are from India or China at this minute. Across the United States, all the engineers are being laid off because they can outsource them to India or China a lot cheaper. And China is a big consumer society. Now, they may be having some problems right now because this is a world, a global meltdown, but you have to understand the population size. I mean, the United States has got 325 million, and you've got 1,300,000,000 people plus in China. I mean, they don't really know how many people's over there. But you have to, the society is growing. They're making cars. Today, as you and I are speaking, they're the largest producers of automobiles in the world. Now, this has all happened in the last 6 months because of all of our companies shutting down.
That's incredible.
George, I have a devil's advocate question for you, because we have a lot of people who write to us wanting to know when the next update from George Green is going to be. And one of the reasons for that is because you're well connected, you understand finance, and most other people don't, so they're grateful for anybody who's able to explain things in relatively simple man-in-the-street terms. And also, you've been saying these sorts of things now, and this is something that some people write to us for quite a little while, and people are saying, wait a minute, George said that World War III was going to start, George said this and George said that, and these things haven't happened yet. Is it just because the slide is slower, or have things changed in the sense that there are some forces and vectors which are trying to mitigate things for us, either on a human level or at any other level? Can you reply to the people who are saying, wait a minute, George Green is a doomsayer and he tends to be wrong, or he's not been right yet? Do you mind my asking?
I haven't been on the dates because I've just, as my friends, we're sitting down here trying to calculate when things are going to happen, frankly. And it's at this minute, my analysis of it, we're in the proverbial barrel that's going over Niagara Falls, but we're already going over it. And so a lot of people are already being affected by this thing. Now, as far as the plans for the war, I mean, you're getting that information from all kinds of people. And they're like right now, what are they talking about? They're trying to get something started with Iran. Now, the United States is not at war with any country, and yet we have many treaties that are going on that we're honoring at this minute, like i.e. Japan. Japan and Russia are getting together, right, to get rid of the treaty that they had at the end of World War II. If so, that eliminates our military thing. Now, because the foreign countries have so much of the dollar, quote, the trillions that they're sitting here, and it's kind of worthless in front of them, it can be an economic war. I still think, because of what's occurring, that they're going to